suspense. Even today, if there is no decision on Biren Singh today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow during Parliament, I think then.
I don't see any decision happening, Karthikeya. I'll be very surprised if there's a decision on Biren Singh while the Parliament is in session.
I exactly know why this is not happening.
Bataiye.
But I can't say that on your channel because I don't want you guys to land in any kind of legal trouble.
Oh, thank you so much.
I exactly know why this will not happen. He's a resourceful man. He contributes a lot of resources to a lot of resourceful people. He even contributed funds to the party's election campaign in Karnataka.
Okay.
But he lines up the right pocket, so he's going to stay.
I think I get your point. You are. I know what you're saying. People who are part of the organizational structure will have bigger leeway in context of political decisions.
Then it doesn't work for BJP also, Karthikeya. Right now the Parliament is in session. The government is already on the back foot.
But we get the drift.
Of course we get the drift.
कहने का मतलब if we get the drift, इतनी तो honesty होनी चाहिए. No one wants to get in legal trouble, but इतनी honesty होनी.
Wait. Brajesh, you are saying on the back foot. Some people like to play on the back foot all the time. The hook shot is played from the back foot. And people think Narendra Modi is very good at playing the hook shot from the back foot like Sachin Tendulkar does. He does not hook from the front foot like Kapil Dev used to do. A good hook shot is played off the back foot. So sometimes these people think they can play good hook shots of the back foot or good pull shots of the back foot using a cricket imagery. But ऐसा है ना, बैक फुट में ज्यादा खेलोगे तो कभी कभी हिट विकेट होने का भी चांस रहता है भैया. वो मद्देनजर रहे तो बेहतरीन.
ठीक है.
Okay.
Hijang, the conclusion is that Mr. Biren Singh is not going anywhere. After this, he has said what he said. Curfew has been clamped down. Relaxations have gone. I want to ask you, because you are directly connected with people, are schools functioning normally now, or those or the schools which were open recently, वो भी बंद हो गए क्या?
Karthikeya, I don't know, how do we expect children to be in school when we are in such style mode, when we are in such intense situation? Because education involves your mind to be calm. Now, when your mind is not calm, how do you expect children to be in school? That's totally absurd. And they're trying to tell the world that normalcy comes back. They are telling that the schools are reopened. Now, coming to the points of Dada, he was suggesting tribal autonomy. That's good. At the same time, but what I'm trying to say is a reference with Tripura and Manipur may be different, because if you look at the whole incidents, not only during this violence, the whole history of suppression, oppression, subjugation, it's the highest form of oppression, subjugation, and suppression. Now, how do you expect this community to live under such kind of enslavement? Now, Bal Gangadhar Tilak rightly said, freedom is my birthright. So is the freedom of the Kuki people. When the British ruled India, everyone fought for the freedoms of India. And our forefathers, since 1917 to 1919, they fought the British for 3 years. What for? They want freedom. And 159 cookies out of 188 in Indian National Army, they fight for India's independence. What for? They want their children to live under freedoms, not under this suppression and subjugation. That's why autonomy itself is not enough for us. For us, complete freedom is what we are looking at, because our heart has a very strong attachment with India. We always demand separate states under the Constitution of India. We never ask for any secession. We are part of India because our forefathers have that strong emotional allegiance, attachment, plus fight for the India's independence. That's why if the wish of this forefather who sacrificed the life for the cause of India's independence, and if justice is not given to their generation, their children, I think we are doing injustice to this Kuki community who had laid down the life for India's independence. Why we are now rising superpower? It's because my forefather took part in the fight for India's independence. And you have seen all this recorded, well recorded in the history. This is something not which I'm saying. Therefore, let the world come and understand how much freedoms for this cookie community is needed. These are just an iceberg, a tip of an iceberg. There are lots of things which are happening. When we demanded sixth schedule in 1974, it was flatly rejected. When delimitation happens, it was obstructed. Now, administrative discrimination, legislative administration discrimination, judiciary discrimination, executive discriminations are happening. And how do you expect these people to live together again with such kind of people who have such beastly attitude? Now, imagine the mothers with the child who are there for emergency medical aids coming with the ambulance. Around 2,000 mobs stop them, attack them, burn them alive. In spite of their plea, they were burned alive. The mother, the children, and the sisters. And that are just simple incidents. There are lots of unreported incidents which are happening. Now, we never said violence should continue, but they continue attacking us. We continue defending them. Now, there are lots of complicity, connivance with the state government, the state forces. All these incidents are happening right in front of those police forces. That's why we are saying there's complicity and connivance. At the same time, there is a person, Lucipriya Kamujam, who is environmentalist, known to the entire world, and she was also responsible for spreading all this hatred, all this violence. She holds the Salai Tarek in the international forums. She spread lies like one widow was killed, amputated, burned alive, and she said this woman is cookies and
Mr. Mishra, the reason why, the reason why I organize this debate, and I said this, people have been here, is a matter of commitment. It's like very difficult to digest, and I hope we are on the same page when we talk about these brutal incidents. It's not to gain the numbers on YouTube. It's just that to acknowledge that something has happened. But today I really wanted to have a conversation on, could this have been prevented? Dada Subir Bhaumik ji said that this couldn't have been prevented because there are guns out there. He says that this was bound to happen. You had people who were writing Miso, Naga, came in front of their houses. The othering has already happened. Dada, my question to you is political. What sowed the seed of this discord, Dada? 70 days now. What sowed the seed for such hatred?
There were a lot of problems which we have discussed again and again. There was this whole issue of, affirmative action. Meitei is trying to get scheduled tribe status and some positive movement at the legal level on these lines, which was resented by the other side. And also, the other side meaning the cookies and the Nagas also. And of course, this huge campaign to bring down poppy cultivation in the cookie areas, because this was being done. There's no problem. Every government should actually put a brake on poppy cultivation, but then you have to give an option to the tribal farmers. And also, I think this did not go down well with the cookies, that there was an attempt by the government to justify their drive against poppy cultivation. They're trying to project the whole community as poppy cultivators and drug smugglers. Now, that's far from true, because poppy cultivation is only a problem which will become a big problem in days to come. Because when you have a lot of poppy cultivated in Manipur, there will be a tendency on the part of the Burmese drug lords to come and set up processing units here. But what about the processing units existing on the India-Myanmar border, run by drug cartels like Jiang Zemin, Loshin Nian, and Wei brothers, who are already sending tons of Burmese drugs into Manipur, for sending them further up into the big Indian market. Now, in that trade, I know for a fact that all communities, big political leaders, big business leaders of different communities are involved. So it will be very wrong to paint the cookies as drug smugglers and everybody else as saints. You don't have to go very far. You check with my dear Manipuri sister, Thanajam Brinda. the police officer, why she had to leave the police service, because she had conducted raids on, people holding stocks of these drugs, psychotropic drugs, and then she was under huge political pressure. So, and those were not cookies that I'm talking about. So, I am definite that there were three, four major issues which brought this to the tipping point. The this SC status for Meiteis, the crackdown on poppy cultivation. But I am also kind of very curious to find a linkage between the timing of this whole eruption when it started. This eruption happened just when the dissident movement within the BJP was picking up. And there were several BJP lawmakers who had gone to Delhi demanding the ouster of Biren Singh. Now, this has happened with BJP elsewhere in Northeast as well. Yeah, BJP blames the Congress for high command culture. But in Tripura, we have seen there was an attempt to remove Biplab Dev. So there were all kinds of BJP legislators who were going and camping in Delhi, trying to meet senior leaders like Modi, Amit Shah, and all these people. Here also that had began to start. And some important lawmakers like former Super Cop Radhesh Shamji, they're all camping in Delhi. This is when this eruption happened. And the net result of this eruption is that today, Biren Singh has emerged as such a Meitei hero, some kind of a modern Veer Tikendraji, defending the Meitei community, that the center may not be able to risk his removal because that may create a lot of Meitei backlash. So, there seems to be some kind of interesting coincidence, and I am curious to find out whether this is just a mere coincidence or there is something more to it. So these are the reasons why it happened. Now, point is, Karthike, we all know why this happened. We've talked about this. We now need to discuss why this can't be brought under control. And if this can't be brought under control, has the government in the state or the center have a right to say that they are running a government? Or they are running, whatever you can say? Many things come to mind. The point is, if you think that there is a semblance of government which they claim to be running, these things should not happen. People should get things under control after 70 days, 75 days. So if you can't control this kind of a situation for 70, 75 days, then, sir, we have to remind you that such explosions were controlled in Manipur, elsewhere in Northeast, even the ferocious 1983 riots, which led to the killing of thousands of people. You remember Nelly, you remember Gopur. But things were brought under control by Indira Gandhi in about 10 to 15 days. That's a fact. I was a young reporter then. Now, if you think these leaders have to be, they deserve any comparison with Indira Gandhi, well, she brought this under control in 15 days, 70 days, ye chal raha hai. So, these things are self-explanatory. So the main issue here is now why this can't be controlled after 70 days. And if it can't be, what kind of governance we are witnessing? And this involves both the state and the center. The center cannot say, हमें नहीं पता यार वो उधर हो रहा है. भाई 355 है, आपका भी जिम्मेदारी है ये.
Correct.
You can't.
Correct.
You can't take your hands off it.
Correct.
So you impose 355. You send your home minister there. He was there for 5 long days. And these guys are supposed to be having magic wands. That's what they would like us to believe. Why can't then this be controlled? So these are questions that have to be answered, and answered with a straight bat, sir. ये हुक पुल नहीं, थोड़ा स्ट्रेट बैट में खेलिए ना, सीधा जवाब दीजिए.
नहीं, बात सही, बिल्कुल absolutely spot on, Hijang. I think Bhaumik Saab has summed it up. I think he really summed it up well. The ball also stops with center. There's an Article 355 in operation.
Absolutely.
दोनों लोग जिम्मेदार हैं. Absolutely spot on. Spot on. Mr. Bisau.
Karthik, yeah, when I know I'll train the 51 was post in Manipur, but when the main perpetrator of this violence was the head of the unified command? And that's a big question that we keep always raising. Now, if you really want to bring normalcy, if you really want to bring peace, why can't you do what is needed for peace? When you are always like putting in the power who is the main culprit and the perpetrator of this whole drama in Manipur, and what do you expect from that? Now, when you are asking why can't this be controlled? Now, I would come up with lots of evidence. Now, since I have been joining all this show, I don't believe in lie. I speak with all this evidence. Now, when we said this attack on the Kuki community is a well orchestrated and premeditated attack, because before this, there are a group, extremists and radical group called Arambai Tengol Meitei Lipans, which are formed, protected, and patronized by the state head. There are also proof of the chief minister taking a picture with all these groups. The second thing is like before the incidents of these things, the state government asked the tribal people to submit their gun license along with the arms. Whereas the highest number of gun license is issued to the valley people during this and Biren Singh's tenure. Now, speaking to one of the news channel, former Manipur Police Commissioner Ras Kumar Nimai raised a concern surrounding the data, the figure of 8,000 weapons. Now, the highest number of licensed guns is issued to Manipur. That's 35,117 active gun license. And he was saying like,
How many did you say? How many did you
Sorry?
say? How many did you say?
35,117 active gun license in Manipur, which is up from 26,836 in December 2016. BJP government led by N. Biren Singh came to power in 2017. Since then, 8,000 gun license have been issued. Imagine. That's why I'm quoting one of the police commissioner, Ras Kumar Nimai, who raised a concern surrounding this data. The figure of 8,000 weapons issued in just 5 years is quite staggering. And district collector or magistrate can't issue weapon in such capacity without letting the state know. If this has happened, then there must have been pressure on the collector from the authority, he said. If the government is not very keen, then no collector will issue license at that level, he added. Now imagine, just see the comparison. The cookies were asked to submit the license gun along with the license. At the same time, this highest number of gun licenses is issued to their own people. For what? The tribal, for instance, they are the hunters. What for these valley people need this gun? They are never a hunter. They don't have a space for hunting. On the contrary, see, attempt was made to transport the food grain in the FCI godown in Churchanpur just before this incident, this violence. And fortunately, the alerted masses stopped this food grain to be transported from Churchanpur to Infal. What we presume is they are trying to accumulate all this food grain so that they can fight this better, even if the national highway is blocked. And see, when the violence broke out, the cookie houses, renter, churches, hostel, and educational institutions were identified and marked with colors a month before through official and non-official means that ensure the targeted destruction and burning down of the tribal cookie homes, properties, and places of worship. When the real killing and arson takes place in Fast City, most of the top-ranked police officers who belong to the cookie community remain helpless. They're powerless. They can't do anything, even when the houses are burned down, just because the unified command, the head of the unified command was, I won't even call him honorable, CMN Biren, because he controls everything. He holds home portfolio and he rendered powerless all the top-down leaders. That's why we call it a well-orchestrated, premeditated attack on the cookies, just because they want their land, which the cookies had been settling since time immemorial.